Okay, as you can see, a little bit of a mess. We've actually been using it for the weekend, so we threw up the pop-up gazebo. But this part of the patio is all down, ready to point. So this is, I'd say, phase 3 of the patio, and it's going to be again laid with the limestone, but I'm still kind of working out how I want to do the drainage. There's a difference in height, so we're laying over the original slab here. There's going to be a difference in height. I also need to put a channel drain or a slot drain down the middle there, so I just don't like the look of it at the moment. Almost contemplating taking out the whole of that slab. So this is the bit we're working on today. I've done a dry lay there just to work out roughly how things are going to fit. Only a couple of cuts again, so I've got a cut over here for a skinny bit, and actually that's pretty much it. And where you see the sleepers over here in the corner, I'm not sure if I've posted this video or not yet by the time I've done this edit, but I had originally planned to build a herb bed along here, and that was going to be 2 sleepers tall, and these posts are concreted in, and I bolted them in from the back using stainless steel coach screws. All was going well until I decided this is where I'm going to build the outdoor kitchen. Rather than put it under the gazebo, if we're going to do a brick oven and things like that, I want to do it out here. So where you can see the hardcore here, I'm actually going to tidy that all up, shutter it off and pour a concrete slab in there and build an oven out here. So once again I'm going to move all of the slabs onto the grass. I've taken a couple of photos as well just so I know the layout. Move them aside, and yesterday was the hottest day of the year. Today doesn't look quite so bad, but all sun creamed up, and we can make a start. So again, just a full mortar bed down here, pretty much the same as the top patio, and the main gradient is going to be heading towards this stone wall, but they're actually going to go across through this gap, and then there'll be steps down to some decking in years to come. So we're going to send the drainage that way, and we can deal with it over there. So it's another delivery day. I've got another bag of sharp sand coming, some building sand, just because I'm going to do a slightly different mix for the pointing, and for any of the brickwork I need to do for the kitchen. Some bark, because Joe's going to kind of put a mulch over all the borders, tidy those up, a big bulk bag of that, and all the fast point, the compound for pointing the main patio, and a few other bits and bobs. But so if I can get this started, then we'll start craning over, and hopefully there's enough space there for a few more bags. Okay, so this area is all clear. I've already levelled this with a bit of a gradient when I have the whacker plate. Rather than putting a string line in down here, thought I may as well use what I've got. I measured out from the dry lay where I wanted the pavers to end. Beyond that will be the kitchen area. So rather than putting a string line, which I've not really got anything to attach to, just put a sleeper there. That's given them a straight edge, and I've kind of wedged that off the post that concreted in, so it's not going anywhere. So I thought I'd show you this. I'm really sold on using the slurry now on the back of the slab. So, you know, just to give you an idea, this is SBR 50/50 with water and then thickened with cement. And it's just, I'm trying to get my roller out here to slurry the new ones. I'm really struggling because that's how strong it is, and it sticks to anything, so for the extra few quid of laying them, it's well worth it. So it's fiercely hot now. It's like midday and I do not do well in the heat, but I'm going to try and crack on and get this finished. It's going quite quickly, there's no major cuts to make, and it's kind of a straightforward rectangle. I hadn't done that many kind of close-ups on the laying of it. I've got a little bit of footage that I did when I did the main patio. But how I'm working is kind of, I've started at the high point of the patio, which in this case is at this end, and it's grading down to that gap in the wall. Spacings with these, because they're natural stone, limestone, and they're kind of tumbled on the edges rather than sawn. It's about kind of 10 mil that I'm aiming for, but in some places it's kind of 18 maybe, and maybe a little bit less than 10 in others. So I think that's just the nature of the product, and the nature of kind of natural stone. If you want that sort of rustic look, you've got to accept that you're going to have to tweak each one individually slightly. The other thing I'm trying to do is have a fall on two ways, so kind of falling this way slightly and dropping, and that's okay, but you do end up sometimes where you're trying to kind of create two falls in one stone, and in that case it's quite tricky to get, so you kind of just have to accept that there'll be a little bit of a variance in the step height between each, but a half a mil, a mil, you probably wouldn't even feel it when the pointing's there. As I said, really hot day today, so I'm trying to make it a little bit wetter than normal, the mix, and that just gives me a little bit more work time. But to be honest, the size of some of these, one mix gives me about enough for one of the slabs, one of the really big ones, maybe 1.5. So it's quite a quick mix I'm using. I'm working on my own, so I'm just kind of running as quick as I can. But yeah, so it's going well. Slurry mix on the back as usual. Just putting it on with a roller, and that's working well. So I'll give you a look at how I'm laying these next ones, and then hopefully we can get this done by lunch. So because I'm working on my own, and that's, you know, typical DIY type situation here, what I'm doing is mixing up a batch, giving it a good 5-10 minutes in the mixer, putting it into my barrow, and then whilst it's sat in the barrow, making up another mix, and then leaving that to mix whilst I'm laying one. And that pretty much works out in that it takes 5-10 minutes to lay a barrow's worth. Then I'm back for another and set another mix up whilst I do the next batch. So that's how I've been working for the whole lot, and it seems to be okay. Ideally you'd have a second person helping you, or a labourer or something mixing, I guess, but I haven't got that luxury. We're getting there. So what I try and do is leave a bit of a gap, or a bit of a taper down to the one that I've already laid, so that when you come to the lay of the next one and you tap it in, there's somewhere for the mortar to squeeze into. What I found when I was doing them to start with, and I was kind of haunching each one in, when I came to the next one, there was just, you know, you could tap and tap, but there's just nowhere for the mortar to go. As soft as your mortar might be, if there's no room for it to go, you're not going to be able to level the slab. So obviously this isn't a tuition video, as you can tell, because this is the first patio I've ever done, well, on a full mortar bed like this. But hopefully you can learn from some of my mistakes and some of the things I'm picking up as I go. Normally I'm tipping the wheelbarrow, but it's a bit restricting here. So slurry first. This slurry's lasting a couple of hours before it gets too thick. And in this heat, because these stones are so warm, it's drying on. So I'm having to go super quick to lay it whilst it's wet. You want to get it on the fingers. I don't go all the way to the edges because it gives you a bit more space to work with. Oh. That's a shame. It might be alright actually. Lucky these are still soft, so we can shift them. That's not ideal. Might just try it the other way around, we might be lucky. Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference sometimes. You might get away with that. Otherwise we'll just nick a little bit off with this the angle grinder. Last few pieces of the jigsaw now. I ended up having to cut the one over there, that's why I turned the camera off, because I had to run and do it before the mortar went off. So I've got a square to go in here, and then a small cut to go in against the wall there. And what I am going to do is finish it flush against the wall there, so we can get all the water running along and down. That'll save any water kind of getting down into the sub base below it. A little bit more under there. I'm glad I left the top coat of this oak until after the patio, because this is going to need a good clean off sand before we do that final osmo. Get a whole patio of these ones, it'd be a lot easier. They're so much easier to level off because they're nice and small, and you can just give them a light tap, they never crack. Whereas the big ones, if you hit them too hard on the edges, you're in trouble. I've actually been kneeling on the big ones when I'm leveling those, just to spread out the impact and avoid them cracking, which has worked really well. And actually, if they need a bit of persuasion, a good bit more weight on it, if you kneel on it and just give it a wiggle first, it might not be the textbook way to do it, but it definitely works. That's all the bits in. So I'll give it an hour or two because it's drying so quick, and then I'm just going to rake out the stuff that's squeezed up into the gaps. So we've got a nice 20mm deep gap for our pointing to brush in, which I imagine we can probably do tomorrow at the rate it's drying. I've got one more piece which I'm hoping I've got enough mortar here for, which is going to be the step which goes between this patio and what will be the decking. And it's going to be one paving slab wide, and I need to cut a drip stop, so I'll have a look at that and see if we can fit that in now. done. Took a little bit longer than I thought, took about 5 hours, but pretty pleased with how it's gone. Just by rinsing it down like that, I can tell that there's a good drainage, so that's fine. It's probably more than is needed, but hey, if I imagine we're probably going to be waiting till tomorrow or the day after to do the brush and pointing, and I'm also hoping that one tub will do this area. It's about probably about 6 square meters, if that, so supposedly one of those tubs should do it, but it's looking really nice. So a bit more tidying up to do. This evening I might just go around and take out any of that mortar that's in the gaps, and then this evening's job is also, Joe's going to tackle it, which is to do the brush-in compound all the way across the main patio. So yeah, that's the update.